Hello, welcome to this presentation. I'll just share my screen. Hopefully you can all see this. There we go. So, grids. This project, Typing Grids, BFI, Film Forever. This presentation is in support of that project and is going to help you maybe get your head around the grid situation and remind everybody of first year project as well, what you learnt in that. So anyways, you know that the actual grid you've been given is based on 35mm film, so there we have it on the right hand side, and here is the actual grid that we have there. So a 12 column grid, and what you should also have done initially is this, some thumbnail sketches. So I'm assuming that everybody has researched the film and looked really into it and read about it, understood it, watched all the things around it, everything it said in the brief really. And then you can then do some thumbnail sketches of some ideas of some spreads based on the problem that have been set. It's vital that you've done that, otherwise your spreads won't make sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead by example, and the whole purpose of this presentation is to show you maybe how to go about it. So the film that I have chosen or been given is The Night of the Hunter. Now, and this is just an initial thumbnail sketch that I've done after researching the film and getting my head around it, understanding it, you know, the script, everything like that. So I just wanted to show you that because that is basically very much the series of how we want you to do it. So yeah, so if you look at that sketch there, I'll just blow up a little bit. So just a double page spread here, and what you have here is a portrait of Charles Laughton. He was the director, so and he was also an actor. So he was an actor and a director, and that's led to this kind of little idea here. Where actor and director, there's a photograph of him as an actor above there, and I'm suggesting maybe his most famous film role, which was The Hunchback of Notre Dame, there. And then did a bit of research into Charles Laughton, picking out, well, these images here are going to be some of his most famous roles that he played. And then I thought, well, you know, a quote from him will be good, a really famous quote. There's lots of quotes from him, but I pulled that one in particular. I quite like that quote. Here we have the cast of the actual film we're going to feature. And this little information appears with his date of birth and information like that. And this is a history here of his life. So therefore, I've just sketched that out quickly, you know, thinking and designing at the same time. From the information I have, that, you know, it was important that he was a director and an actor. So therefore, that's why this piece of design looks like it does up there. The diagonal juxtaposition of those two things. And the spread flows across from right to left down to the film poster of Night of the Hunter. And then the first sort of major kind of image that I've taken after doing the research from the film was basically, the film itself is about good and evil. And the main character, Robert Mitchum, the actor, plays an evil kind of preacher, who's actually not a preacher at all, he's actually a murderer, a criminal. And he's after basically some money that these two children have. And the two children are looked after this little old lady here called, stars in the film, Lillian Gish, and she's good. She stands for good. So based on that, and I've taken this iconic shot here, which I've sort of sketched over the top of, which I'll show you in a minute. It sort of sums up, after doing the research, and I found out that this image would basically, that still sums up the kind of, like, you know, the two sort of major characters within the actual film. And then this here would basically be the sort of title sequences and some stills maybe of some of the actors in the film. So this is my just initial double page spread. You know, I'm not going to do more than this to show you, but you've got to do sort of 2 or 3 of these. But this is the initial one. So it starts with the director, a history of the director, his films, and what he's about, his personal life, leading into the actual major film. So what I want to do is I want to basically show you on the grid is basically how I went about building that up from that sketch. So there's Charles Laughton, picture of him as a film director. Using the grid for the image there, sticking to the grid. Grid's there as a sort of structure for you to use. You don't always have to stick to it, but if you stick to it mainly, then you will be able to sort of you'll see the structure of it when you take it away. So he was an actor and a director. So what I've done with the typeface as well, I'm using the suggested typeface of American Typewriter, bold, light, medium, condensed. But my other typeface I was using was this one here, which is Bodoni, Bo Bodoni. And this comes from the film poster. So I matched the typeface to the film poster, and it seems to fit the kind of feel of it. And that's something you're going to have to do with your film, is find a typeface that you think works alongside the film and is relevant. Sometimes that can be easy to do, sometimes it can be a little more difficult. So a tutor help will be able to help you with that. But he was an actor and director. There's just a little bit of information here about when he was born and where he was born and when he passed away. And then, so the actor bit here, this is The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is his famous film. So these two images are both the same size. This is him as a director, and this is him as his actor. So therefore, the type interacts with the two, and is in the positioning of the elements is relevant. And the thing about this project is you also have to basically, it's good if you've got a reason for putting things in a place, as well as just them looking good as well, the kind of overall aesthetics, because page layout, and designing like this is actually then, there's an aesthetic element to it as well as, having a reason for things being there. So this is kind of the history. So this is image. This is type that editorial that I've lifted from the internet, which we recommend you do. We're not asking anybody to write anything. But what you haven't got to do is identify. You just don't just lift a bit of copy and then don't read it. It has to be relevant. So this is actually a little bit about his history. It's actually from Wikipedia, I think. I've taken certain things out of it and put things in. It's a body text around about 7.5 on 9 point. It seems to work quite nicely. It's range left. It fits within the grid. So as you can see, I'm slowly building up the spread. The next sort of slide shows more imagery. Don't forget this is about film, so that imagery is going to be very important. These are all screen grabs, basically from the internet through the research I found. This is him as an art director here, behind the camera. Lawton on location on Night of the Hunter. And then we have Mutiny on the Bounty, where he played the Captain Bligh and Henry VIII. And then a film poster there, all with the captions underneath. And then a little bit more on the spread. This here is a quote that I came across that Sir Charles Lawton has said: "Method actors give you photographs, but real actors give you an oil painting." So it's a really nice emotive, kind of like, a really nice quote. So I thought I'd use that there as well. And then this is just a little bit more about his career. And then pulling out certain paragraphs as well is important. Hierarchies of information, which we talked about in the first semester. So as you can see, you've got actors and directors. Hierarchies mean the bigger type and the smaller type, dictating what the viewer and the reader looks at first, right down to the detail, which is sort of things like this, which is kind of like a filmography of his famous roles and which films he was in and which year they were. Again, all taken, from my research, but then I styled it up in using the right fonts, the right sizes, and designing it. So yeah, and then that's that spread there. And finally, sort of moving down to the actual into the film, The Night of the Hunter, which is a film. This is a film poster for The Night of the Hunter. So therefore, there's a logic flowing from left to right on the spread, from the art. So you sort of read generally this way across the spread. Then I've introduced a very large image, and this is the image of Lillian Gish with a rocking chair and a gun. And then outside, this is the evil preacher. This is a still from the film, very famous still from the film. But what's nice about it is you can use the scale of the imagery on it, so there's a nice balance there. So hopefully you can see that it's sort of coming together a little bit. Then the addition of the really big headline, Good versus Evil. This is where I'm using the typeface that I've chosen, Bodoni, and the positioning of Good is under Lillian Gish, and then Evil is the preacher over there, and then versus sort of in the middle, and then you can start to basically. And then this spreads about the plot, and so therefore this is again all about the plot here. The type again, found all the content from the internet. Read it and then sort of chopped it up a little bit, so it still made sense. But because sometimes you get things that are too long, so therefore you have to edit it down. So therefore, makes sense. And I'm just going to go into this one now. So as you can see, spread is building up here, leaving a gap in here. So this is where the grid comes in. If you bring your guides down, things line up. And so trying to line the word plot up with the word evil at the top there, but leaving enough room so you can see the evil characters. I don't want to put type over the top of that. And then down here is another photograph from the same scene where the little girl comes across with the light. And then this is an information here about Lillian Gish, her actual character, but that's under the word good. So as you can see, there's a positioning and a reason for where everything goes. And that's essentially you know, what we want from people in this project, and a little bit further than what you did in the first semester with the Forefront magazine. And then just finally adding in on the top here some screen grabs from the actual title sequence from The Night of the Hunter, and then down at the bottom there some of Robert Mitchum, Lillian Gish, Shelley Winters, some of the major actors as well. So that's kind of like an opportunity to put more imagery in there. There's a little caption up at the top there. They were all running along the bottom, but it didn't look very good. It looked bottom heavy. So I put 2 at the top and 4 at the bottom. And I think that basically, as a viewer, you probably look at those 2 and then go down to the bottom and look at those 4 as well. So it leaves a little bit of white space in here and here. So yeah, that's kind of like that. That's all built up using copy from the internet, but also an understanding of the film. Without an understanding of the film and actually what you want to do on the spreads, the direction things, then it becomes very difficult indeed. Yeah. So I just thought I'd go through those, just building up. But what's important is this. It's doing lots of little thumbnails, just little sketches, where you're going to put things, and why you're putting them there, and creating a kind of visual narrative. Yeah. So hopefully this will go some way to helping everybody get their heads around the project. So yeah, thank you very much indeed, and yeah, cheers.